Welcome to the first ever live senior prank. Good job, guys. This is what you get when you miss 2 years of school because of COVID. I've become the most inspirational teacher. I'll be your guest speaker tonight, which I guess means the students like me, which is kind of awkward because I don't like any of them. There were 5 people to choose from on the ballot, and I won with what is called a plurality of votes, which simply means the most votes, not the majority. So chances are most people in this room wanted someone else other than me to be up here. But this is what you're going to get, so you're welcome. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Coach Jay. I'm sure you've heard multiple stories. Only the ones you like are true. If you didn't like one that you heard, they probably made that one. I've been a teacher at Columbus High for 15 years. I've actually taught 8 different subjects: civics, world geography, AP human geography, sociology, U.S. history, AP government, economics, and Bible. And next year I'm going to teach AP macroeconomics. So I've probably taught a larger variety of classes than any other teacher in this school, which can mean only one of 2 things. Number 1, I'm not very good at any of them, so they keep trying to find the right one for me. Or number 2, I'm great at all of them, and they know whatever they give me, I'm just going to dominate. I'm pretty sure it's number 2. I've taught probably half the students in this room, and I think the students like my class mostly for the stories and the review game that we play in order to prepare for tests. This is where they get to challenge me in their favorite game called Beat the Champ. I, of course, am the champ. This game consists of whatever games I make up to challenge them in a head-to-head competition for bragging rights. This could be cornhole, sliding washers closest to the wall without hitting it, 80s and 90s trivia, bouncing a ball into a bucket, rock, paper, scissors, etc. My record in these head-to-head challenges over my career is 13,463 wins with 7 losses. I don't know why they feel the need to challenge me when I continue to humiliate them. Since I've been here, I've repeatedly beat them in athletic events. Just a couple of years ago, in a student-faculty basketball game, I hit 7 3-pointers, scored 23 points, won the MVP award, and we won the game by 30. And that was after I didn't even pick up a ball for 2 years. I just showed up for the game and dominated everybody.
He's really good.
Just a few weeks ago, I went 5-0 in spike ball at the senior picnic. Ashton and Keaton said they would shave their heads if I beat them. I won, but they still have their hair, so I don't really understand what's going on. At this stage of my life, even though it's 50-50 that I'm going to pull a hamstring, I'm always going to find a way to win, because that's just what I do. Tonight, I'm going to offer you up a nickel's worth of free advice. Now, what you choose to do with it is entirely up to you. I'm going to break my advice up into 4 categories: entertainment, survival, life advice, and even some advice for parents. First up, entertainment. I'm a huge movie, TV, and music fan. I like all types of genres. But I figure I have to give you at least my number 1 for each category. So no matter what you do in life, you got to see this movie, watch this show, and listen to this musical group. Number 1, the movie. This has been my favorite movie for 37 years. I've seen it hundreds of times. I know every word. It's absolutely brilliant. Stands the test of time. If you poll 1 million people my age, at least 50% of them probably have the same favorite movie. And if they don't, I don't really trust the validity of the poll. That movie, of course, is Back to the Future. If you haven't seen it, I mean, really, what have you done with your life up to this point? See it immediately, stay up late tonight, skip school tomorrow if you have to, but make sure you see it. You're welcome. Number 2, TV show. This has been my favorite TV show for about 15 years. Amazing characters, interesting plot, takes you through all the emotions. Anyone who says they don't like it has probably never actually seen it. They've just thrown out an opinion of what they think the show is about or gone off what somebody else said. If you've watched it from the beginning all the way to the end, then it's impossible not to love it. Mr. Phillips would agree with me, and that show is called Lost. You can watch the whole thing this summer before you go off to school in the fall. 6 seasons, 120 episodes. I've watched the whole thing 6 times. I may start it again soon. Number 3, music. I like all kinds of music from the past 60 years, but this one group is my favorite. I'm sure most of you know at least a couple of their songs. They have a huge library that you need to take a deep dive into. Been a lot of movies made recently about bands or musicians, and this is a movie they absolutely need to make immediately. I have the perfect person to play the lead singer of this band. That band is Fleetwood Mac, and the perfect person to play Stevie Nicks is Miley Cyrus. This will be a brilliant film. I want it to happen. I'm going to email somebody. I want to see it happen. They've been around 50 years. They got tons of great songs. And most of them are about all the failed relationships they have with each other. So it's just pretty amazing. Check them out. Download all their songs. You won't regret it. My favorite, Silver Springs. I suggest a live version from the dance album. Well. Next up, survival advice. Now, I'm going to warn you about this portion. It's probably the most controversial portion of my speech tonight, but I put it in the middle. That way you'll forget about it. So forget everything you learned about geography. All right, your world's really only divided into two zones. The first zone is, imagine a rectangle, right? The top of it is the Mason-Dixon line. The right-hand side is a little bit off the East Coast and every little island that America owns. The southern border is all the islands down in the Caribbean. And then the western border is the Mississippi River. I call this zone the safe zone. Confine yourself to the zone. There's really no reason to ever leave it. You're not missing it. The other zone is simply the rest of the world, and I call it the weird zone. Don't go there. There's no point. All right? Don't be that guy who's about to say, hey, what about Nebraska? Who cares? You're not missing anything. All right? I know you won't listen to me. You're going to go to the weird zone anyway, but you'll see what I was talking about. I tried to warn you. You're welcome. Next, the world can be a scary place. So I've created a list of the 4 scariest things you're ever going to encounter in the wild. And lucky for you, they all start with the letter C, so it'll be easy for you to remember. Number 1, corn. All right, so imagine you ignore my advice and you've already left the safe zone. You leave here tonight, you start driving west. You get to the Mississippi River. You ignore all the warning signs and you keep going. Before you know it, it's midnight. You've been driving around for hours and you're running out of gas. You realize you're in nowhere, Iowa. You look left, corn. You look ahead, corn. You look back, corn. You look to the right, Gideon's College, and corn. Then, your car sputters to a stop. It runs out of gas. What are you going to do? You're not going to make it. All right? You're not going to get out of there alive. You should have stayed in the safe zone. I tried to warn you. Number 2, cats. Why are they even pets? Whose idea was it to make the most prolific serial killers on the planet household pets? Cats are psychopaths incapable of love. Your cat is plotting your death as we sit here right now. Get rid of them as soon as you get home. Number 3, children. I'm talking about the children that are like 4 to 7 years old. They're dressed in white for some unknown reason. They're singing songs nobody's ever heard before. You ask them, where'd you hear that song? And they're like, Billy taught me. And you're like, who's Billy? And they're like, he's my best friend. And you're like, I've never seen him before. And he's like, he's standing right beside you. Lock this kid in a room and just don't let him out. You get out of there as fast as you can. All right, and last but not least, number 4, the Clintons. All right, if they offer you a job, it's 50-50 if you make it out alive. I mean, I'd wait for a job with better odds if I were you. That's some solid survival advice. You're welcome. Moving on. Life advice. Some of you have detailed plans laid out for your future. All right. Some of you have no plans at all. No matter which one you are, life's going to happen regardless. There's going to be plenty of twists and turns along the way. So I thought the best way I could show you of how your life will change would be to share my own life story with you from the time I was your age to now. I was one of those ones without a real plan when I was your age. Today, I'm a teacher, a coach, a husband, a father, and a grandfather. But it took 28 years of events I could have never imagined that led me to this stage tonight. So let me start off with high school. When I was your age, went to high school, 400 students in the whole school. We all knew each other, we all hung out together, we played sports together, we went to parties together. High school was about having fun for me. When it came to academics, I didn't really put much effort into that. I was smart, but I was lazy. Ended up graduating high school with a whopping 2.7 GPA. Had no plans for my future other than going to college because that's what I was supposed to do. Most children of the 80s are raised to go to college, get married, have children, buy a house. So that's what I felt like I was going to do, even though I had no real plans of how I was going to make it happen. So in the fall after I graduated, I had my first attempt at college. I was at the Braves game the other day with some of my high school buddies, and they both have to interview people at their jobs, and they said the toughest question that they have to ask potential employees is, tell me about a time in your life when you failed and how you overcame that. They said that most people can't answer that question. So that made me think, as I prepared this speech, that I needed to include some of my own failures as I tell my story, because I really do believe that sometimes you need to fail in order to succeed. My first example of this is my first attempt at college. I started college at Kennesaw State College in the fall of 1994 because, again, that's what I was supposed to do. Back then, Kennesaw had 5,000 students, no dorms. It was a commuter school. I didn't have hope. As you remember, I had a 2.7 GPA. My parents were going to help pay for my school because I worked at night. They would help me out in hopes that I was going to qualify for Hope and start paying for it on my own. I signed up for 6 classes. Within a couple weeks, I quickly realized that I didn't want to be there. So I dropped out of 5 of those, but kept my health class. So after a semester of college, my transcript said 1 B and 5 W's. And I had health. That was it. My parents weren't happy, but they gave me another chance in the spring. New semester, same result. Signed up for 6, dropped 5. This time I kept my super important volleyball handball class. So after 2 semesters of college, I had a health and a volleyball class under my belt and 10 dropped classes. At this point, my parents told me they would not be paying for me to go to college anymore because at this pace, it was going to take me 15 years and $500,000 to get a degree. So now I had to figure out the next step of my life. Enter the military. So now I'm 18 with no plans for my future. I decided to join the Army. But I was thinking about my future when I signed up and decided it would be smart to have money for college again one day. And at the time, you could get the GI Bill plus a $30,000 college fund if you decided to take a job that they really needed. So I said, take off every job that isn't giving me the college fund. They gave me 5 choices: infantry, cook, artillery, chemical operations, or petroleum supply. I chose petroleum supply. I could drive a truck, I could deliver ammo, I could deliver fuel. So I enlisted in August for 4 years active duty. To me, the military is more of a mental than a physical thing. In training, they try to break you down and see what you're going to do with it, what you can take. And then they want to build you back up again. My biggest problem during training was trying not to laugh. Drill sergeants, among other things, are truly stand-up comedians. It made some people cry, but they just made me laugh. I got smoked so many times for laughing. One time I had to do push-ups for some made-up reason. The drill sergeant put everyone in formation, started marching them around, trying to run over me. So then I'd have to get up, move somewhere else, keep doing push-ups, and then he'd turn the formation and chase me again. This went on for about half an hour. I was laughing the whole time. Then the drill sergeant started laughing, so he just gave up. So I finished training, I get to my duty station. HHC 464 Armored Battalion, 3rd ID, Fort Stewart, Georgia, Rock of the Morn. A couple of years go by, I go on leave and visit my family and friends back home in Atlanta. My buddy's having a party for the Tyson Holyfield fight. This is the fight where he bites off his ear. At this party, I meet a girl who had just graduated high school 15 days earlier. She was 18, I was a month away from my 21st birthday. 42 days later, we got married. Needless to say, everyone thought we were crazy and gave us pretty much 0 chance of making it. This summer, we celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. 1 year later, my son was born. When I was 3 months old, I had to go to Kuwait for 4 months. I got to watch the Falcons lose the first Super Bowl in a tent at 3 a.m. in the middle of Kuwait in the desert. When I got back home from Kuwait, I had 2 months left of my 4-year commitment. It came to an end. I had no plans to re-enlist, although I didn't have any other plans either. I was 22 years old, married with a 6-month-old baby, and uncertain of what came next. We moved back to Atlanta. I get a job at an office building. My wife and I both enrolled at Kennesaw State, which now had 20,000 students and dorms and everything else. But we weren't going to be attending Kennesaw's traditional students. We were going to go, as commuters. I worked full-time 8 to 4 during the day, and I went to school 5 to 10 most nights of the week, spring, summer, fall, for 5 straight years. Never took a semester off, never dropped a class. This time I graduated with honors. I got the Hope Scholarship plus a GI Bill plus the $30,000 college fund. So I actually got paid $1,000 a month to get a college degree. This is one of those examples of where I originally failed at something but overcame it. My wife graduated with an accounting degree, and I graduated with a social science education degree, and we had no student loan debt. For those of you looking for a way to pay for college, the military really is a great option. Not only was my college free, but it helped me grow up and gave me direction at a time in my life where I really didn't have any. My first teaching job was in my old high school. My school had changed a lot and I didn't really like it there. Funny story, last week, me and Miss Willis found out we actually taught there together and we didn't even know it. But anyway, my wife was from Columbus and I lived in Atlanta all my life. We were sick of the traffic, wanted something new. We decided to relocate here to Columbus. I got a job at Columbus High, coaching the boys basketball team and teaching civics. And my wife kept her job and was able to work from home. She's a CPA. She worked at her company for about 20 years. Now, next thing. Now I'm going to tell you a story that only 2 people in this room know, and I've never told this story to anyone before. So when I was the basketball coach here, I had a problem controlling my temper. I used to get technical fouls, used to lose my composure a lot. I used to get ejected from games. I wanted to win so badly. I was really passionate about it, but I didn't know how to keep my emotions in check. A few years into coaching here, Dr. Crumbs called me into his office at the end of the season and told me they were going to replace me as a basketball coach next season. So I was fired. I was obviously mad and I thought I was being treated unfairly, and I wanted to leave Columbus High and go coach somewhere else. Another part of the situation that upset me the most was that my son was going to come here soon. He was a great athlete in all sports, especially basketball, and I wasn't going to be able to coach him, which I'd always wanted to do. So I went on a few job interviews in different parts of the state, and I actually got a couple of different offers to coach, but I really didn't want to move and relocate my family. So I felt the best thing to do was to stay here and figure it out, even though I didn't feel like anyone wanted me around, and I didn't want to be here. I blamed everybody but myself, and I had to figure out what to do next. I decided to send my son to Glenwood, which if you didn't know is a private school in Alabama over the border at Smith Station. In addition, I'd be able to coach him at Glenwood while teaching here at Columbus High as long as it didn't interfere with my teaching responsibilities. So I was the middle school and JV head coach over there and assistant on varsity. From the first game that I coached at Glenwood to the last, I never made the same mistakes that I made here when I coached. I had my temper under control. I enjoyed a lot of success, including state championships. Got to coach my son the way I'd always wanted to do. Things changed around here for me too. About a year or 2 after I started coaching at Glenwood, I stopped blaming other people for my own mistakes. I actually thanked Dr. Crumbs for firing me because it was the right decision, and so many more great things happened as a result. I became a better coach, better teacher. My son earned a Division I basketball scholarship. And I'm not sure any of these things would have happened if I hadn't been fired or had a chance to take accountability for my actions and learn from my mistakes. I could have taken another job, moved my family somewhere else, continued to make the same mistakes, and continued to blame other people, but I stuck it out. I don't hold any bad feelings for Dr. Crumbs. We talk almost every day about sports or our families, and we even play golf together. Bottom line, I got held accountable for my mistakes. I learned from it. I'm better because of it. And that's probably the best example of how I overcame failure in my life. So last page. Last but not least, I have some advice for parents. As I said earlier, I'm a teacher, a coach, a husband, a father, and a grandfather. The thing that I'm best at is being a father. My son's almost 24 years old. I've been through all the ups and downs of raising a child that you have. The biggest stresses I've faced in my life have all been as a result of things going on in his life. I went to thousands of basketball, baseball, football, and soccer games. I was there when he got his first Division I basketball offer in 9th grade, there when he had knee surgery in 10th grade, and there when he lost his scholarship in 11th grade. I was there when he won MVP in the state championship basketball game his senior year. I was there when he committed to play basketball at North Florida. I was there when he scored his first basket in college against Michigan State and Miles Bridges. I was there when he won the mid-major freshman of the year for College Court Report. I was there when he decided that he was going to walk away from basketball his junior year, 2 semesters short of graduation, because he had not only lost his passion for the game, but he couldn't deal with the pain in his knees. And probably the biggest factor was the fact that he had met a girl with a 4-year-old son, and he decided he wanted to quit school and raise a family instead. I'm sure we've gone through many of the same stresses with our kids. I've butted heads with my son more times than I can count. I've given him tons of advice. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it's in one ear and out the other. When he decided to quit basketball, give up his education, and get married to a girl with a 4-year-old, I thought it was the biggest mistake of his life, but I was still there for him. My wife and I took all 3 of them into our home, and then COVID hit. He started going to CSU to become a teacher and working for a daycare, but after a few months he decided that wasn't for him, but I was still there. Next, he got an opportunity to work at a nonprofit organization that works with kids in Tallahassee, coaching basketball with his former college teammate. There wasn't enough money in that for him to support his family, but I was still there. He moved back home with us again, but this time he got a CDL and started delivering expensive cars to pro athletes and other rich people across the country. This time he was making enough money to support his family, but he had a new baby coming. He didn't want to spend his life on the road, so he needed a new direction, and again I was there. Around this same time, I just so happened to meet up with an old Army buddy who owned his own company that does insurance investigations on behalf of attorneys. He was looking to hire some employees and expand to the East Coast. This sounded like a good opportunity for my son to work from home and make enough money to support his family, and as it turned out, it was a perfect fit. He gets to work from home, spend time with his family, probably makes as much money in 1 year as I do in 4 years of teaching. We have a very close relationship not only with him, but his entire family. We hang out, eat each other every weekend by the pool. We're all probably each other's best friends. But had he listened to my advice, we wouldn't even have this extra family that we've grown to love so much. So parents, if you can't tell, my advice to you is simply just be there. That's all you need to do at this point. Give advice when they need it, but don't stress out too much when they choose not to listen to all of it. Be there for them, support them, even when you don't agree with the choices they make. Whatever's meant to happen is going to happen anyway. Students, find out what makes you happy and do that. When you fail, figure out how to overcome it. Sometimes you may need to move on to something new. Other times you just need to buckle down and tough it out. Listen to your parents' advice. They've been around a long time, so chances are they have some solid advice for you. But at the same time, don't be afraid to make your own decisions, because ultimately it's your life and you can only live it one time. So live the best life that you can. And for the last time, you're welcome.